Let's talk about why we do what we do, okay? You may have noticed, so what I'm going to do is, if you can follow along in your notes, is I'm going to just throw out some things that you may have noticed that you already know about Networks Church. I'm going to tell you why we do them the way we do them, okay? So the first what is this, is you may notice that we really, that we really emphasize grace a lot. We don't major in the minors, and you will notice, if you haven't done so, it's very easy to bring your friends to church. And when you walk away to go have lunch, you don't have to apologize for anything that's been said or done. And I don't stand up on a chair, and I don't typically yell at you. Okay? And why do we do it that way? Well, here's the why behind that why. First of all, people who are not in church and people that don't know God, this is what they think. Is they feel like, I don't want to go to church because everybody there is better than me. And they feel like that they're looking down their noses at them and they're going to somehow judge me because I'm just not good enough. And guys, I love to talk to unchurched people. I love to talk to people that don't know God. And I even enjoy talking to people that hate God. Because I know that that's a life that God wants to get into. And I have found that this is absolutely 100% true. So that's the reason why, number one in your notes, if you write in, Networks Church is what we call a life-giving church. What is a life-giving church? Very simple principle. If you get this, you'll get it. Okay? Christians, we understand that we are no different than anybody else. The only difference is we have figured out where the goods are at, and like a beggar, think of it like a beggar figuring out, man, here's the stash, here's where the food is, and going to the other people that haven't figured out yet and saying, hey, come over here, here's where the goods are at. That's the only difference. We're not better than anybody else. We just have figured out where it's at. And here's what you do, is you live your life in such a way, is as a Christian, I am not an umpire, I'm a lifeguard. Do you understand that? It's a totally different philosophy than what the world has seen in Christians. Number one, why do we do what we do? We are a life-giving church. The second one is this. Okay, the what. You may have noticed that in Networks, ministry is very simple. We try to keep things as straightforward and as non-churchy as we possibly can. I mean, everything is just cut and dry. I mean, basically, we have Sunday morning service. We do life groups. We have Kid Connection that's going on. We have the nursery that's going on. And then we have Revolve Youth that's on Wednesdays. And outside of those things, that's pretty much it. And every once in a while, we do like a hayride or something. But it's very simple, and it's very straightforward, and it's very easy for you to get involved and to do stuff. Why do we do it that way? Well, many times in church, people don't know how to fit into their role. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing, and they think, gosh, if I do something for God, and if I go for it, am I going to be, slapped down by the deacon board or something because I've done something wrong? I mean, what can I do and what shouldn't I do? And sometimes people think is, man, I don't have enough degrees in Bible to be able to do it. That's not the way that it is here. We keep things very, very simple, and it's very easy for you to do ministry. Okay, number two on your notes is we have structures that empower. Now, every organization has to have structures. But here's what typically happens in church, is church starts to work this way, is church becomes about building the better widget, building the better program. And so what happens is you have a flow chart in a church, much like a business, to where you have this box with this title, and that's connected to the next flow chart box with this title, and you have this one over here, and you have this system of programs, and if somebody stops leading the whatever program in this group, oh my gosh, we got to fill that box, and we got to get that there, and you have this structure. Well, we understand here that church is not necessarily about doing that. Instead of building widgets, the strength is in building relationships. Imagine a flow chart that is not by title, but is by relationship. That is a much, much stronger system. You see, when people get close and people get tight, it's like this. It becomes tighter and tighter and tighter, and you have something that is strength that will endure. and that will last. You know, one of the most important parts of what we do here on Sunday morning is, by the way, this is why we do life groups. This is why we emphasize that so much, is because we know the strength of the relationship is more important than any title. Okay? On Sunday morning, the most important time in some regards on Sunday morning is the 20 minutes after the service is over. And one of the things that we have noticed that I love, and I'm just going to let you into my brain for a little bit. On Sunday morning, I go home. I don't know what you think after church. I hope that you feel refreshed. You feel excited about God. I hope that you're ready to go. I leave, and sometimes I'm on a high. And I leave sometimes, and I'm like, oh man, that was a bomb, you know? And my wife will tell you, it's like, oh boy, we messed up there, you know, and there. And I tell you, the one thing that always saves it is walking away and saying, man, did you see how many people were hanging out for 15, 20 minutes after the service? That blesses my heart, because I know that there's something that's going on that God is doing. And that's a picture of strength. You know, I mentioned the life groups. This is amazing. I have talked to pastors all over, and I've told them about the way we do life groups. We call our life groups free market style life groups, which mean the ideas for those groups come from you guys. They're your ideas, your passions, and we have very few hoops that you have to jump to actually get into one of those. You got to do a little bit of training. You need a little bit of connection. We want you to have a partner. And that's basically it. If you've got an idea, you can go for it. And because of that, we have not had to create ministry. It has happened. And I will share that with pastors, and they'll go, wow. And they'll go, well, how many groups do you have? And I'll say, well, we have about 20. You know, half of those are serve groups. Half of them are more of like a kind of inward connection type groups. And they'll go, well, how big is your church? And I'll tell them, they'll go, you got to be kidding me. And they've got like 1,000 people in their church. And they go, well, we've got 25 groups. And they can't believe it. It's because they're thinking a little bit differently. Structures that empower. Third one, the what. Okay? You will notice that our service is, we start on time. It's very quick, most of the times. Every once in a while there's a week where I look at the clock and I'm like, oh my gosh, I went way over. We really try to keep it, we try to keep things rolling. And we try not to have any wasted time. And one of the things that you'll notice is we really, really try hard to stay on task as much as we can and keep our transitions. Man, Brad can tell you, our team can tell you that I am the transitions Nazi. Okay? I mean, I am so big on that. I said, keep it rolling, keep it moving, keep it going. And one of the things that you noticed is this morning was a little different. We had a few announcements. We had some things that we want to do, but typically we don't have a lot of commercials. Typically we don't point people out, and we don't stroke egos. We do not stroke egos. Now, why is it that we have it that way? Well, first of all, we have it that way because this time is about one thing, and it's about God. And it's about Him. And you know what? There's a lot of things we could talk about, but we only get 52 of these things a year. And we're going to keep it as top priority as we possibly can and say, man, it's about God. And we're not going to waste that time. We also understand that as people come to church that maybe aren't accustomed to church, is that they'll come in, and if we have a lot of inside stuff, inside jokes, or things like that, it's very uncomfortable. And it's all about saying, man, it's not about us. It's about Him, and it's about them. And so number 3 on your notes, write this down. This is huge. Because we understand it's not about me. In other words, when you come to church, yes, you're going to get blessed. Yes, you're going to get filled up. Yes, you're going to walk away empowered. But it is not about you. It's about Him, and it's about them.